Recently at my work, I was coding a GUI in C#, and I thought this was a good time to start using ChatGPT to help me write my code, because it got me about 70% of the way there. But what I noticed was it wouldn't work completely, and maybe there were some edge cases that I needed to iron out. The only time that ChatGPT could actually give me working code is if I, as a developer, would look at what was going on, and using my intuition that I've developed over the years, I would be able to have an idea or suspicion on what the issue is and what was happening with this bug that I was seeing. And when I would tell that to ChatGPT, only then would ChatGPT be able to give me a working solution. So the moral of this story here is that AI can give you some working code, it can give you some fixes, but it's only as good as the developer who's prompting it, and the developer who's prompting it is the actual one who's doing the diagnosis of the code. To help you get better with software intuition, I have a free guide that you can download called my High IQ Software Checklist, and it's just a checklist that you can go through that you can use to audit your own code bases, and it just helps you think about some things when it comes to architecting your code that could actually make it better and a lot more robust. So you can download that in the link in the description. This person said, "The problem is often vibe coding stops you from actually understanding your code. You have to remember AI is your tool. Don't make it the other way around. You should use these models to help you understand, learn things, or just code out things you're too lazy to do yourself. You don't just copy and paste code from these models and slap them in a code editor." This is why so many students I encounter feel like amateurs, because they use AI and it doesn't actually help them get better at coding. They can make code that works, they can make their code run well and do some certain things, but it doesn't actually help them become a better software developer or software engineer. I recently got an email from a subscriber and she said this: "I depend on AI a lot and this weakened my skills a lot." And that is so true. If you use AI a lot and then you use it like this, where you're just copying and pasting the code but you don't understand it, then that will weaken your skills and you'll eventually have code that you don't understand, and then you're not able to debug it and you're not able to add more features to it to develop it. I think what a lot of people are forgetting when it comes to AI and all these people who are saying that AI will replace coders, I think they're forgetting that there's a human aspect to coding as well. There's a human aspect to software engineering, and that is software architecture. We need to remember that software engineers are not just coders, but architects, and we need to stop thinking of them as like a C programmer or a Python programmer. I see so many people online talking about themselves in this way, but a programmer is not a C programmer or a Python programmer. It's not about the language that you're using. It's about the ideas that you have in your head that you're trying to convey in a programming language. The programming languages are just a means of communication to the digital system or to the computer what you're trying to do. When I think about my career as a software engineer and I think about my daily job, you're not going to find me coding like 8 hours a day just typing and typing and typing and typing. Actually, most of the day is probably done more on thinking, reading some documentation, and the amount of time that I actually code is maybe like 10% of the time. So this is Atlassian, and it's something that I've used at both of my companies. This is what I would say most of our job as a software engineer comes down to. So I would say that there are 4 phases in the work that I do. So the first phase is understanding the need, the customer need. So in order to code something correctly, you have to understand the problem correctly. So it involves a lot of asking questions, verifying what the customer wants, and then after you understand the customer need, or maybe in this case your teammates need or your team's need, then you can start to think about, okay, what is the plan for how to accomplish this, or how can we come up with a solution for addressing this need? So that's the second phase. The second phase is actually doing the planning. So this will involve having a good understanding of your code base, and then having a good understanding of where things are located in your code base. And then when you have that down, then you can actually form a plan. The easy tasks at my company are ones where I'm working with a code base that I'm already familiar with, or a code base that I already know really well. And so I'm able to debug code a lot more efficiently, and then I can come up with a plan on how to address the need more quickly. So after understanding the needs and then having a plan to execute on a coding solution, the third phase is to actually code the solution. So you take that plan and then you just implement it. And so now, as you can see here, as you can imagine, the third phase is the easiest phase. This is the phase where I pop in some headphones and then I just code away. And this is when vibe coding actually makes sense. Yeah, I would type the proposed plan in ChatGPT, and then it would spit out some code, and then I copy it, and then I paste it into the IDE, and then there you go. So it shortens the phase 3 part of this whole entire process. So after you've coded everything, the fourth phase is the integration. It does require a lot of time because you have to do a lot of testing. You have to test a lot of different cases, and then sometimes they'll find some edge cases in your logic, and then you have to address those. But overall, it's a really good process because it really irons out any issues that might arise, and overall, it makes your code a lot better. So you look at these 4 phases: understanding the need, and then coming up with the plan, and then the actual coding, and then the integration. What can AI do to replace any aspect here? So maybe understanding the need? No, it's going to be mostly you who's going to understand the need. The AI model needs you to understand it very well. If you don't understand it very well, you're not going to give a good prompt. So understanding the need is mostly on the human. And then coming up with the proposed plan. Okay, maybe AI can help with the proposed plan. So you can give the constraints, you can understand the problem, give the prompt, and then see what AI suggests on how to address it. You might be able to use AI for phase 2. So coming up with the proposed plan. But I think it becomes especially difficult when it's a addition to an existing code base. So AI is not going to know about your code base. So that really involves you. And so you're going to have to understand your code base really well. And then you have to tell AI what the code base is like, and then maybe it can give you some proposed plan there. But I think after you understand the code really well, you'll be able to come up with a plan on your own. And then there's phase 3, the actual coding. So that's the one where vibe coding or AI may actually play a role, and it can actually make you more efficient. It can actually help you with the coding. You don't have to spend hours and hours just typing away. You can just put in a prompt, and then it'll give you all the code that you need. And that actually saved me a lot of time when I was using ChatGPT to code in C#. And then the fourth phase there is integration. So of course AI is not going to be able to help with integration because AI is not a human. So as we head into this world where AI is getting more involved in our coding process, we need to start leaning into more of what makes us human. And the best word I can use to characterize the human aspect of software engineering is architect. So you want to lean more into this architecting ability of humans. And when we think about ourselves more as digital architects or software architects, then we'll be able to see coding as just a small part of being a software engineer. And the real part is being a software architect. And fear of technology isn't something new. John Philip Sousa from the early 1900s once talked about his fear of recorded music. But paradoxically, a few decades later, recorded music actually helped him and the Marine band that he conducted famous. It was because we were able to record his music that he became famous. So the key thing here to note is that machines didn't replace the musician, but rather the machine empowered the musician. And the same goes with AI. When it comes to AI, it can write a lot of code for us, and this is why vibe coding is so cool these days, because we can actually write a lot of code. So as the world is becoming more and more digital, the barrier to entry is actually rising. You can't just get away with just coding and typing away. You have to develop into being more of an architect in your software development. You have to be someone who can diagnose the machine and have a good intuition on what's going on with the program. Alright, that's it for this week's video. I hope it gave you some insight on how you can use AI well in your coding. And if you want to learn about a project that separates beginners from professionals, you can check out this video over here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.